All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Let me make sure that all of this is muted so we're good. Great. So I miss all of you as well. So as I mentioned at the pre-recording part of this call, the Crystal Director, the Rapid Reset ends next week for the director eligibility for that extra bonus. And it was actually perfect for me to share that with you all because I was reading a book, or I'm currently reading a book, this book called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. And it's not a personal development book and it's not a business book or anything like that. It's just him sharing his story of his life from his perspective. And there's some really fascinating stuff in here because he's a really deep guy. I mean, he's not just this kind of guy that you would think would be fun to have some beers with, of course, which he would be, but he's a really, really intelligent guy who's had a very fascinating life. And if you read this book, it'll actually give you some great insight as to how he's come to play some of the roles that he's played and kind of his formative years. And he was just starting out in his acting career, and his father passed away right before Matthew McConaughey caught his big break. And his dad was the person that he most revered in his entire life. He just had a ton of respect for his father. And he passed away, and Matthew was sad when his dad passed away, but he was about 30 years old. And what he realized was that it was time for him to take on life in a whole new way, because now that his father wasn't there, he really was a man. He had things to take care of. He was maybe potentially going to start his own family one day. He had his own responsibilities. And it was this real moment of clarity for him where it was like, okay, things need to change in terms of my personal approach to life, my philosophy to life, how I'm approaching the things that I have access to. And he said in a moment of inspiration, and this is a guy who you might not know this about him, he wrote incredible poetry when he was younger, really just a brilliant artist in so many ways, even though he's this real like yeehaw Texas kind of guy. And he felt in a moment of inspiration, he was sitting underneath a tree thinking about his father, and he carved these words into a tree. And when I read them, I just felt all of you and our global team and the people that come into network marketing with what these words were. And it was a very simple comment that he wrote. He said, less impressed, more involved. Less impressed, more involved. He says, the sooner we become less impressed and more involved, the sooner we get better at them. We must be more than just happy to be here. So what does that mean to you? Because here's what I hear when I hear that. It's impressive that you could earn an extra 1,200 euros right now, between now and next week. It's impressive that you could make an extra 2,000 to 3,000 a month inside of network marketing. It's impressive that you could create financial freedom. It's impressive that you could travel all around the world, work from home, create your own hours, build your own team, have this wonderful, wonderful lifestyle, be in the best health of your life. Those are impressive things. How many of you would agree? Drop a 3 in the chat box that those are pretty impressive things. You could be winning all kinds of awards. You could be speaking on all kinds of stages. I don't know, maybe this leads to you writing a book like a friend of mine that I know right now, because it creates that kind of freedom for you to have the space and the resources to do stuff like that, right? So there are some things that are extremely impressive about life and about what we have access to with Isagenix. Because how many of you, just honestly, we're having a transparent, open conversation like we always do. How many of you sometimes see people getting recognized for accomplishments, right? They do things very, very quickly, and you look at it and you go, oh my God, that's amazing. That's incredible. Wow, what an achievement. But I could never do that. That's not me. People like me don't achieve things like that. I mean, hopefully I can get my products paid for. Maybe I can make a little bit of money. Maybe I'll get lucky and have 1 or 2 amazing people come into my team, and then it'll be great, because that'd be really impressive, wouldn't it? Sorry, Mom, can't talk right now. Should I answer the call with my mom on right now? Should I answer? You guys want to meet my mom? All right, you guys want to do it? All right. Hi, Mom.
Hi, honey.
Mom, I'm great. You're on FaceTime and you're on speakerphone, and right now you're interrupting a training that I'm doing for our entire European organization. And I said, my mom's calling. Do you want to meet my mom? Do you want to say hi? And they all said yes. Okay, so you're going to say hi to people from all over Europe right now. This is my mom, Candace. It's my mom, Candace. Now, this woman, as all of you know, so many of you know, has been by far the greatest inspiration and mentor in my entire life. So much of who I am today is because of her influence. And mom, it's actually really good timing. What I'm training on right now is I'm talking about the difference. I'm reading Matthew McConaughey's book. And he wrote this beautiful line when he was younger, and he said, less impressed, more involved, right? So less impressed with what we have access to in life and more involved in the skill development and the pursuit of them so we can really be engaged in those things in a different way. So it's more about being a player in the world as opposed to just being a spectator and kind of watching life go by. So what are your thoughts on the importance of getting involved and engaged with the life you want to take on as opposed to just kind of like hoping that things happen? What would you share with the team tonight?
Well, can I just listen for a minute?
No, that was it. You just listened. Now it's your turn. So my mom, for those of you that don't know, my mom is a world-class psychotherapist, but she's also a brilliant business mind. She does consulting from time to time. And sometimes, mom, what I think happens is we see other people achieving levels of success and creating amazing things that we find to be impressive. But then there's that still little small voice that says, yeah, but I'm not cut out for that. I could never do what they're doing. So how, if as a client, someone comes to you and says, look, like I want to do these things in life. I see other people are doing these things in life. I just don't know if I'm cut out for it. What kind of coaching would you give to them?
Coaching or psychotherapy, Zach, those are different things.
You pick.
If I would with somebody and they talked about why they felt they were not cut out for it, I would want to go for where that experience, that feeling comes from, and it's generally, but almost always based on an experience of listening and hearing from society, media, or should be doing rather than bring themselves to explore further than what they have experienced or been told in their lives.
Okay, so mom, because you're cutting out a little bit, I'm going to call you back after this. I'm going to paraphrase what you said because it was actually exactly along the lines of where I was going. How cute is she though? Like, isn't she the best? Isn't she just like? All right, you did great. Thanks. You're a real pro. I'll call you later. Okay, bye. So what she said was, how was that? Was that okay, guys? I mean, we just, some people are like, we're keeping it real. We actually do. This is just real life. Mom calls, mom's a priority. Not that you're not a priority, but I love my mom and I wanted to say hi and, we just did it. So it's all good. Anyway, so what she said was that was so important was to remember that very rarely, if ever, that voice that we hear that says, I'm not cut out for me, that's not who I am, is rarely, if ever, our actual voice. Where does that voice come from? It comes from our parents, our schoolmates, the clergy, our religions, our organizational leaders, whatever may be. And so what I want to invite you all into considering is asking yourself the question on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being fully involved and fully engaged and fully committed to really practicing and developing the skills so that you can create the result. And 1 being, I'm more impressed by everything that's going on, but I'm not really committed. If you're being honest with yourself and there's no judgment, 10 is not better than 1, make no mistake at all. Where would you say that you fall on the scale? I'm going to share with you why 1 and 10 are no different whatsoever and why 1 and 10 isn't necessarily better than 1. But we've got to be honest with ourselves. Okay, cool. So the reason it's okay to be a 1 or 2 or a 3 or a 4 or a 5 and just be impressed with what everything is that you have access to with Isagenix and with network marketing is that there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a part of a community. And I want you to hear that loud and clear. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a part of a community and earning a couple extra $100 or euros a month to help pay for your products, stay a little bit healthier than you would normally, maybe pay off a credit card, take 1 extra holiday that you would have never taken off before. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever at all. In fact, the vast majority of people come into network marketing will come in and that's exactly what they'll experience. But I have a different feeling about you. And the reason I have a different feeling about you is because it's 8 o'clock in the evening, 9 o'clock in Europe, and here you are investing your time to pursue more. And so that tells me that in order for you to create the more that you desire, then we have to ask the question of, am I involved at a level 10? Am I involved in a level 10? And if I'm only involved at a level 6, can I really get frustrated when I'm getting results that feel like a level 1, 2, or a 3? I got a message this morning from somebody else on our team who's coaching one of their associates, and the associate's very frustrated. I want to be further along. I feel like I'm dragging people. I haven't found any great partners yet. Like, this just feels like a grind, and yeah, I'm making some money, but I'm not sure if this is going to happen for me. And just so she knows she's not alone, and she's not on this call right now. It's a different part of our organization. How many of you ever had that experience before? Maybe you're having that experience right now. Just drop a 4 in the chat box where it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if anyone is really wants to do this with me. Like, why can't I find good partners? Blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, cool. Let's have a conversation about it. So I opened up this person's back office and I said to my friend and partner who's coaching them, they said, well, how would you coach them? And I said, well, let's just take a look at the numbers. This person's been in for about 11 months. Okay. So less than a year. And in that time, they've enrolled a total of 40 people. They've gotten a total of 40 people started, which is roughly about 3 people a month during the time in which they've been involved. Now, is that anything to scoff at? Of course not. Of course not. But if you look at the company numbers, which I broke down for her, I said, okay, fine, let's take 40 people. 85% are going to be what? Customers only. That's 32 people out of the 40. Of those remaining 8, okay, so which makes up the remaining 15%, 10% of those remaining 8, or excuse me, 90% of those remaining 8 are just going to be casual sharers. We'll do it here and there for fun. And the remaining 5%, so one person, basically, out of those 40. So I said to her, to the person I'd be coaching the person, I said, just show her these numbers and ask her, do you think that what you think you should be earning compared to the actual work that you've done, do you think that those two line up? And the person that I'm coaching to coach her team said, that's really sobering because it's right there. It's really sobering because it's right there. Now, again, nothing wrong with enrolling a total of 4 people in 11 months. But is enrolling 4 people in a total of, or 40 people in a total of 11 months going to make you a 6-figure income? Probably not. Is it going to create financial freedom for you? Probably not. If all 40 people happen to be seasoned network marketers, happen to be extremely influential, happen to be, influencers, blah, 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 then could you potentially do it? Sure. But how often do we have that happen? Almost never. And so the reason I want to keep coming back to this less impressed, more involved is because that's where the beauty of it is. And that's where the work comes in. And that's where, when we are willing to take a step back and ask ourselves the question of, okay, how involved have I actually been in this process versus what kind of results do I think I should be getting? Now we don't beat ourselves up as much anymore. I'll give you a perfect example. I have a lot of people in the world constantly asking me, Zach, when are you going to launch a podcast? Zach, when are you going to launch a course? Zach, when are you going to do a mastermind? And I say, I don't know. And it's always the same thing. You know what they say to me, why I should do it? Anybody know why they say I should do it? It's for one reason. They all say I should do it for one reason. Anybody know? To earn money. That's right. That's right, Layla. They all say, Zach, you can make so much money. And they're right. I can make a lot of money doing it. But you know what? I have no interest in doing that kind of work right now. I know what it takes. And so I have other friends that have podcasts, that write books, that write courses, that also have network marketing business. And those extracurricular things that they do bring in a lot of extra money for them. But they're also working 80 to 120 hours a week to earn that kind of money. So I don't want to work 80 to 120 hours a week. That doesn't interest me at this point in my life. I like working less hours and making a little bit more money, but making less than them. But do I ever compare myself to how much money they're making? Never. I don't even think about it. And why don't I think about it? Because I'm not willing to put in the effort to do it. Isn't it a little bit crazy of us? Wouldn't you agree? Drop a 6 in the chat box if you would agree that it's a little bit crazy of us to compare ourselves and expect ourselves to have the results of other people when we're not actually willing, consciously or unconsciously, to put in the same amount of work as those people. Wouldn't you guys agree with that? So let's take ourselves off of that whole crazy ride and come back to this idea of less impressed, more involved. And another way of saying less impressed, more involved is this. And some of you might understand this and some of you don't, but I'll do my best to keep it as simple as possible. And for those of you that follow sports, you'll get this. Sometimes in football, and I just love that there's a European call because I can talk about football with you guys and do it in that context. Sometimes in football, you'll have a team that only needs a point, right? They need a point. And so they go on the road looking for a point. And so how do they set up their formation? Very defensively. So are they trying to win the game? The answer is no. They're only trying not to lose the game. They're trying not to lose. And sometimes when you look at your own life, you've got to ask yourself the question of, am I playing to win? Like, am I really playing to win? Or am I just playing not to lose? How many of you, when you consider what playing to win actually means, when playing to win means showing up every day, when playing to win means connecting with new people, following up, posting, learning the skills, learning your back office every single day until, that's playing to win. But what's playing not to lose look like in network marketing? Playing not to lose, post on Facebook, maybe someone will respond. Listen to a podcast, did my personal development, got on the team call. Okay, this is my week. Going into management mode as opposed to bringing in new people. So there is this huge difference between playing to lose or playing not to lose and playing to win. How many of you drop a 7 in the chat box if you think for the most part you've been playing not to lose just based on how I defined it versus playing to win? Just be honest. And it's okay. There's no judgment. There's no criticism. Let's make no mistake that the only reason I can train on these types of things is because I've been in every possible season of this. So how might your life be different if you started playing to win? Every day. Every day. And to be clear, the greatest teams in the world and the greatest athletes in the world, guess when they win their matches? They don't win their matches on game day. The greatest teams in the world do not win their matches on game day. They win their games on the practice pitch. They win their games in the recovery room. They win their games by doing extra stretching, by making sure they get proper sleep. It's all the work, like Michelle just said, that no one sees. That's how you know that they're playing to win. And again, I'm a huge football fan. And for as disgusting as it was, for those of you that saw the game last weekend, Alisson, the Liverpool goalkeeper, right? 90th minute, Liverpool needs a point. Alisson cruises down to the other side. You almost never see goalkeepers score goals. Of course, not taking anything away from Peter Schmeichel, right? And Alisson goes down into the box and like no big deal, boom, flicks a header in, scores, and Liverpool will play in the Champions League next year because of that goal, not because of what they won today. But let me ask you a question. Do you think that was Alisson's first time ever practicing heading a corner? Do you think that was his first time ever putting himself into that position? No. You know what I'd be willing to bet? I'd be willing to bet that if Liverpool trains and practices, say 3 or 4 days a week, that at the end of almost every training session, I'd be willing to bet that Alisson runs down to one of the goals and has someone feed him crosses just for maybe 10 or 15 minutes just to practice, just in case. LeBron James the other night, NBA playoff game, basketball game, LeBron James hit a shot that he had no business hitting with about a minute left in the game. Was it the first time he ever hit that shot? Of course not. It's that every single day when he wakes up playing to win the game, going through that shot in his head over and over and over again, as opposed to just going through the motions. So I really want you to start approaching your business as though you were an athlete approaching, prepping for the European Championships or the World Cup or the Tour de France or the Masters or whatever you're into. And if you're not into sports, pick something that you are into. Maybe you're into fashion, okay? Maybe you're into fashion and it's Fashion Week in Paris and you're one of the lead designers. And so you're going to prepare like that. Maybe it's music. And so it's whoever your favorite artist is. But let me ask you a question. Type in the chat box. What would have happened? What would happen if you applied the same mindset? If you applied the same mindset to your business as athletes do to winning their games, what might happen in your life? Drop it in the chat box. Let me know. What do you think might happen if you really approached this like athletes approach winning? And you took on that attitude ruthlessly, relentlessly, excitedly, passionately, unwaveringly. I love that. Amanda says, I play to win every day and I'm winning, and you absolutely are winning. I don't think there's anybody that can question that. That's my challenge to you. Less impressed, more involved. Stop playing not to lose. Start playing this game to win. But here's the cool thing about network marketing that I've never seen anywhere else, except now, of course, we're seeing it in the crypto space, so some people are getting lucky. But network marketing is the only thing I've ever seen. You don't have to be a great athlete to do this. You don't have to be a personal trainer. You don't have to be a banker. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a neuroscientist. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to be anything other than someone with a great attitude that cares about people, that's willing to learn some skills and put in some hard work for an extended period of time. That's what you've got to bring to the table. And all of those things are free. And all of those things are my favorite word in the entire language, as many of you know, outside of leverage, of course. And that's choice. All of those things are a choice. All of those things are a choice. You're never too young. You're never too old. The fascinating thing that I've learned about success is that success waits for no one. And yet, it is always available to anyone. Think about that for a moment. How cool is that? How cool is that? Success waits for no one because success just moves. Success just is. But it's available to anyone. That's why you hear these incredible stories about authors and musicians and producers and writers who never broke through until they were 50 or 60 years old. Watch this. This is going to blow your mind, potentially. Drop a J in the chat box if you know who Jim Rohn is. Watch this. Drop a J in the chat box if you know who Jim Rohn is. Now, if you don't know who Jim Rohn is, R-O-H-N, then I want you to stop whatever you're listening to on audiobooks, stop whatever you're reading in your books, and go study some Jim Rohn. Because if anyone taught me outside of my mom, it's Jim Rohn. But anyway, Jim Rohn is one of the greatest business philosophers of our time. Multiple best-selling author, made tons of money. His legacy will live on probably forever. World-class speaker. He's one of my favorites. Jim Rohn didn't start speaking until he was about 45 years old. And he didn't start becoming known until he was about 50 years old. Never too late, never too soon, never too old, never too young. Your life will start when you make the decision to stop living your life based on who you think you're supposed to be and who you deserve to be. And with that, I bid you adieu. Sending you much love. I'm going to post in both groups. What did you learn? Now, here's what I'm going to ask of you, please, for the love of God. I don't post what did you learn inside of those groups so that I can feel good about you learning from me. It's not about that. I post what did you learn for a couple of different reasons. One, you might put a note in there that somebody on the team didn't actually pick up on, and you'll be teaching them in that moment. 2, you're more likely to retain whatever you learned. 3, it obviously creates an environment where the people in the group who weren't on this call start to see, oh, what they might have missed out on. And so it encourages them to watch the recording. It's as simple as typing, what did you learn? Less impressed, more involved. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see y'all soon. Take care.